let me pass the journals up. We'll get that going. And then you get a break here in about 14 minutes, 12 minutes. Go back to the passage that we started class with, 2 Corinthians 9, 10, and 11. And I'm going to read it again. This is the same passage that we started class with, but I want you to look at again a little bit differently. I want you to focus on the sowing and reaping and an unexpected harvest of contentment. And hear those words, sowing and reaping and unexpected harvest of contentment. How cool is that? Okay, here we go. Now this I say, he who sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, and he who sows bountifully will also reap bountifully. Each one must do just as he has purposed in his heart, not grudgingly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver. And God is able to make all grace abound to you, so that always having all sufficiency in everything, you may have an abundance for every good deed. As it is written, he scattered abroad, he gave to the poor, his righteousness endures forever. Now he who supplies seed to the sower and bread for food will supply and multiply your seed for sowing and increase the harvest of your righteousness. You will be enriched in everything for all liberality, which through us is producing thanksgiving to God. For the ministry of the service is not only fully supplying the needs of the saints, but it is also overflowing through many thanksgivings to God. I love that passage. As part of the reading out of Cooley, he had a couple of really good thoughts, and I really like it. The first one is generosity, in your notes, you might want to put this, generosity begins with God. Generosity begins with God. Did you guys pick up on that? He has been extravagant with us. Not only in the way of blessings. We have huge blessings. When I leave for India in January, I am reminded how blessed a people we are, right? Because I get there and it isn't pretty, right? They don't have a lot of stuff, bottom line. They live pretty simple lives and hand to mouth. No clean water, sleeping on the floor. It's tough. God has been extravagant with us. But what he's really talking about there, he has gifted us in such a way that we are blessed beyond measure. There is the obvious blessing we have being here in America. We're blessed. But there's also the huge blessing that we have of salvation. Did you guys pick up on that? We are a blessed people. The fact that we are saved from sin is huge. It's something we don't deserve, but God is extravagant with us and gives it freely. What the author was really talking about when he talks about the blessings that we have are the skills and the abilities that we have. There are more than 25 identified areas of intelligence. Did you guys know that? It's more than the IQ test that you take. There are 25 identified areas of intelligence. Some of us are good with numbers, some of us are good with reasoning, some of you are intuitive, it's usually the women, some are creative, some have an eye for balance, right? They're all gifts provided by God. Every one of us has areas where we're smart and we really shine, right? The trick is to figure out where your intelligence rests. What is it that God has given to you that you shine, where you are so much better than anybody else, just because of God's blessing in your life? That is a gift from God. It's what the author's talking about when he says we have all been blessed. All of you have amazing gifts that perhaps you're not even using. I'm going to tell you a quick story, then I'm going to have you do something fairly quickly. There's a story told about a funeral that was held from a serviceman that died in Afghanistan. At the funeral, there was a teacher of his from, I think it was the 3rd grade. It was his 3rd grade teacher, knew him well, and there were all of the other students that had kept in touch. So this was one of those schools where the students really kept in touch with each other. So it might have been later than that. It might have been 4th or 5th grade, but it was those early years. And during the funeral, she started to talk to one of the kids that was in the class, and he said, "You may not remember this, but you did something really special in class." He said, "When we were in class, you had us reference other people's gifts and abilities." And the mother of this guy that had died in Afghanistan said, "You know what? When my son died, they found in his wallet a note from you that listed his gifts and abilities that you had as his 4th, 5th grade teacher had given him, saying, these are areas of your life that I think you're going to shine." He kept it all through his life. He kept it in battle. And the mother shared that with the teacher, and these other students that were standing around said, "You know what, I kept mine too. I still have mine. I have that note that you wrote me that said the gifts and abilities and how I was going to shine in this certain area." And this teacher just started to cry, because it was a teacher that could see in her students talents and gifts and abilities that sometimes nobody else had ever said, "You know what? Look how you're gifted. Look what you can do. Look how you can accomplish some amazing things." And it had influenced every single child in the class. I'm going to ask you to do something that's a little bit uncomfortable. You guys are 7 weeks into class. You don't really know these other people, but you might really know these other people that are around you. What I want you to do is take a couple of minutes, and everybody in the circle of your small group that you guys have been working in is gifted and talented in a way that perhaps they are not aware. I want you to share with each person 1 or 2 things that you have observed in this class where they shine, where God has blessed them. You know, why do we do this? Well, 2 reasons why I want you to do this. The first is we don't do enough of it. We don't encourage other people. We usually are more critical than we are positive when we talk to people, right? So we don't do enough of it. And number 2, how can we use gifts that we don't know we have if we don't know we have them, right? One other thing that was in Cooley that I think is pretty important. Cooley also says that when we are generous with our gifts, those gifts and abilities, God will be generous with His gifts to us. So what does that mean? You know, you look at that God will be faithful to take what you do and return a result for your action. It doesn't always mean that your prayers or time spent in service to God's purpose will be obvious at the time of the service, right? It may not mean that when I give money into the plate on Sunday, I know it's going to be multiplied back to me during the week. That's not what we're talking about there. You know, but it does mean that He will bless your service and stewardship and return it to you, perhaps in a unique and various way, which is really, really cool. The thing I like about what Cooley's talking about, he points out that when we are generous with our time, our money, and our service, we're providing an offering to God. I love that. When we are generous, we are providing an offering to God. We aren't seeking to serve men, but we are seeking to serve God. When you give a gift to a homeless person, you're not helping the homeless person, right? Though you are, but you're doing it as a ministry to God. Which makes it, I mean, for me, and I struggle with that. You know the card that I took? I have had the hardest time giving that away because these guys look capable of working. It's, oh, yeah. And then I got to realize what this is talking about. When I give that card, I'm not giving it to the homeless person that looks like they could work. I'm doing it as a ministry to the Lord. Makes it a little easier. Cooley also identifies the key to true riches. He said if we ever want to acquire true riches, we need to heed Luke 6:10 through 12. I love this passage. It's a great passage. He who is faithful in a very little thing is faithful also in much, and he who is unrighteous in a very little thing is unrighteous also in much. Therefore, if you've not been found faithful in the use of unrighteous wealth, who will entrust the true riches to you? If you've not been faithful in the use of that which is another's, who will give you that which is your own? We're going to talk more about that in the next couple of weeks. So what can we draw from that passage for your notes? We can draw 4 things. Number 1, how we deal with small responsibilities is the way that we will deal with the big responsibilities. How you deal with the little things, how you respond on the little stuff of life, is how you're going to respond in the big stuff of life. That's huge. How you deal with the little stuff, you know, honesty at work or whatever, is going to be how you deal with the big stuff of life. Number 2, the opposite of being trustworthy is being dishonest. If we aren't trustworthy as stewards, the opposite is not a good thing, right? The opposite of being trustworthy is being dishonest. And number 3, true wealth is not in what we have in things. It is what we have in contentment and joy. So if you want true wealth, it's not about the stuff that you have. It's about what we have in contentment and joy. I know a lot of really unhappy, wealthy people, right? I know a lot of people that have a lot of stuff, but they're not happy. They don't have contentment, they don't have joy, so they're not truly wealthy. Number 4, there is a direct correlation between how we deal with our worldly wealth and true riches, happiness, and contentment. So if we don't handle our worldly riches well, true riches will be fleeting. We don't handle our stuff well, then true riches will be fleeting. We've talked about it before. I also believe that this is a test with eternal ramifications. The test of stuff here has eternal ramifications. We're being tested now for our responsibilities in heaven. What we are faithful with now, what we do a good job with now, may well influence what we are tasked to do in the future. Did you guys get that? That's huge. Yeah. Sure. There's a direct correlation between how we deal with our worldly wealth and true riches. And true riches are happiness and contentment, right? So if we don't handle our worldly riches well, true riches will be fleeting.
Biola University offers a variety of biblically centered degree programs, ranging from business to ministry to the arts and sciences. Visit biola.edu to find out how Biola could make a difference in your life.